During the Civil War, one of the most costly battles took place in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. This battle is known as the Battle of Gettysburg. Upwards of 51,000 soldiers were killed, injured, or went missing. The ones that were killed were laid to rest on the land where they were slain. A local attorney named David Wills organized declaring that land where all those bodies were as a national cemetery. In November of 1863, Wills reached out to President Abraham Lincoln and asked for his support and asked him to deliver a speech at the dedication ceremony to address the nation and the audience. He was not intended to be the main speaker at this event, but in 272 impactful words, he was able to grasp the audience, and those words still resound to this day. This is known as the Gettysburg Address. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work, which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, that that government of people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. I chose to do this speech because I felt it was very impactful, and it was resounding what was going on in the country then between the Union and the Confederate, fighting against each other, so many lives lost for good cause, possibly. But wouldn't it be better to unite as a nation and to come together and work together for one cause? I felt goosebumps every time I read that. Every time I think of all of the people before us that have read it, everybody that it has impacted, and all the lives that were lost at that battle, buried under that ground. I felt a connection to this speech, and I hope that everybody else did. And I hope that you can take from this speech and work it into your everyday life. Work it in to work together as a group, as a community, as a town, as a country, so that we can make this better for us and not go against each other and result in more bloodshed.